We're going to have one class of market heifers, so out of this will be your champion reserve market heifer for the show today. Following that, we'll go right into the steers. Once again, we'd like to welcome our judge, Jefferson Keller of St. Paul, Nebraska. Operates Keller Cattle Company. He judged at UNL back in 2016. He was actually a coach there for 3 years. So appreciate Jefferson making the trip over here today, and thank you for your talents and helping our youth out.
Market exhibitors, we do want to indicate, and you might have heard, the Ag Society is sponsoring the premium auction on Sunday. We have a grand event in the grandstand, so we will give you your entry sheet for the auction at the exit gate. The Ag Society is there. That's the sheet to return to the fair office or to us at the stand here for your intention to participate. It will be without animals, so we will interview you. We'll give you a chance to have a little sales talk when it's your time to do the premium sales auction. The auctioneers are coming to the event. It's going to be a great afternoon as always. We will do a few things announcing scholarships, Pioneer Farm families, the parade of champions from the fair without their animals as well. And then we're going to do premium auction. So invite people to come. It'll be in the grandstand. The concession stand will be open for you to purchase anything that you would like to take with you up into the grandstand. It's going to be a neat event, and so please invite sponsors, donors, parents, grandparents, people that you would like to maybe sponsor you, or friends of 4-H that you know of, and FFA. That's Sunday at 2 o'clock. So we invited the market exhibitors to meet in the south end of the grandstand. We'll line you up in the order of your auction. Premium only, no sale of animals. And so don't forget to turn in those sheets. So your market heifer and steer, you will receive your paper today as you leave the arena. And if that's your only market entry at the fair this year, then just be sure to turn it in to us, sign it. And we will be there at the grandstand at 2 o'clock, and we have a few things prior, and then we'll start on the auction. So get your friends and neighbors and have them come up and enjoy the afternoon, and that'll be the finish to the Gage County Fair. One other announcement as far as awards. Grand and Reserve champions this year, we have a different system that the 4-H Council instigated after much discussion. We thought might be beneficial to you as Grand and Reserve champion winners. You have your choice this year of a trophy, $25, or a book bag that's embroidered with the Gage County Fair logo. So you will receive an envelope and a thank you note now as you champions are named. We have a dummy trophy that you can use to take some pictures. Then just return that to us, and then your form is due to the extension office or here, return it to us at the fair with your thank you note, and then your award will be ready here middle of August. So you can choose a trophy, which will be exactly like the one that we present to you, which you need to return. After you take some pictures, there's a photo board here at the, to the right of the announcer stand here in the barn, so please use that for any of you, not just champions. And then take some pictures, return your trophy, return your form, which indicates if you'd like a trophy, a check, or a book bag. It's embroidered with Gage County Fair logo. It's very cool. So if you have any questions, let us know, but congrats to all the Grand and Reserves in this new award system. We hope you like it, and we'd like to know how you feel about it after it's over. And be sure to return your premium auction form, and that'll be a grand event in the grandstand. Grand finale to the fair, Sunday afternoon at 2.
If anyone has any stock or feeders, go ahead and get those entered here in the center of the building. Once again, that is for stocker feeders. That'll take place after the show here.
Class of market heifers, I think we've got a good class to sort through. Certainly quite a bit of weight spread amongst the group, but I do think we have a really, really good place to start. The young lady's Baldy there at the front of the line, I think just overwhelms the rest of the class in terms of sheer mass. Her shape of muscle, the way she feeds out the backside of her shoulder, she comes really powerful into her hip. She's so good bodied that she spreads really wide down her top. She's still fresh in terms of her condition. When she gets her stopped in park, she balances up. She could maybe just go a hair more comfortably off her rear pastern, but that's getting really nitpicky on a heifer that I think just wins this class and division fairly handily. Heifers here in second and third are going to be purples as well, and I think they're awfully close in terms of muscle, where they're at compositionally today. For me, it just comes down to little things. I think the heifer that we've got in second, it'll be a reserve. She balances up better. She's a little bit more correct in the way her spine's laid into her. She handles her hind leg more comfortably, and the way she's got her stuck and set up right there, I think she comes together really well. In relation to the one that beats her and is your champion, she just gets out-horsed. She doesn't come nearly as bold or massive out the backside of her shoulder, and she's not nearly as stout or expressive when you step in behind her, but still a really nice, complete kind of female or market heifer there to go in a second. Like we talked already, I think the heifer in third, very similar in terms of muscularity, dimension of muscle, and where she's at from a composition standpoint. She just gets a little bit piecier in terms of her build. She could be rocked back in the angle of her shoulder, and then when you sit her into motion, she really gets pretty uncomfortable off her hind two, and that's where I'd like to fix her there to maybe see her slide up into second. But a good trio of heifers there to start the market heifer show. Heifer come out in third. This one is really stout. She's really high cut ability. She's really good in the shape of her muscle. One that to me is still awfully lean. She's pretty bare to the touch when you get over her 12th and 13th. And she too could be modified in the way she's built. I'd like to see her rock back and more correct in the angle of her shoulder, and then she could get just a little bit more comfortable in the way she handles her hip and hind leg as well. You'd also probably just like to soften her up a little bit through her midrib. Heifer coming out in fifth is one that standing still, and just from the outside, I like a lot of things about that heifer. She's one that is so good balanced when she gets her stuck. She really pieces together well. She's got plenty of muscle for where she's at from a weight perspective, but again, this is a market show, and coming in at, I believe, 980 pounds or something like that, she's just probably too far from her ideal endpoint to slide any higher, but certainly a nice individual that has a bright future ahead of her if they continue to show her in the market division. And then the heifer that rounds out the class got a little extra growth, a little extra length and extension compared to the heifer that just stood directly ahead of her. Really kind of shapely in terms of her muscle pattern, but that also correlates to her being just a little bit coarser, a little bit harder in terms of her body type, one that we could soften up and just make a little bit more balanced and sound when you set her into motion. Nice class of market heifers. Let's give those young people a big round of applause.
At the ring should be group number 1, Market Steers. First call for group number 2. Congratulations to the champion Market Heifer, shown by Lauren Tronick. Reserve went to Rachel Beeler. Also receiving a purple was Sarah Beeler. Receiving blues, Ethan Garrels, Jordan Van Squake, and Addison Koenig. I'd like to recognize the champion Market Heifer, sponsored by Gage County Farm Bureau, and the reserve champion Market Heifer, Terry and Bev Acton, was the sponsor of that award. announcement. If anybody has any stocker feeders, go ahead and get them checked in over there in the center. It's again last call to do the stocker feeder entries. There's going to be 2 classes of steers. We'll bring back the top ones out of this class to compete against the next class for the overall steers before we roll into the breeding beef show. Final call for group number 2 market steers. Final call, group number 2.
Get out here into our first class of steers, and I think we've got a really nice pair that start off this class. I think both of these steers offer a lot of good. There's just some little differences to me. The black and white steer that starts is one that in terms of his muscle shape is so much squarer. He's way more impressive right there behind his shoulder, and the way he feeds back into his loin. He comes in bolder and square into his upper pin set and carries that width and power down into his lower quarter and stifle. A calf that when she stops and gets him parked and pulled together, I think balances up really well. That's a stout featured calf to go on with it. That's certainly really highly presented. I think a good place to start, and that's nothing to take away from the steer here in second. The red calf is just a good, practical, right kind of fat steer. He's really sound structured. I think he balances well. I like his body type. One that, to me, if I change him and see him get around that steer that wins, he needs to feed bolder and squarer and be more massive right out the backside of his shoulder, and see that carry all the way back through his loin into his upper hip and all the way down into his lower quarter and stifle. But again, that's a really high quality steer as well. Steer we've got in the third, good kind of fat steer, one that's certainly got some more growth, some extra performance built into him naturally. Still one that, to me, for that extra frame that he's got in relation to the others out here, he needs to have more to him. He's not near stout enough, and that same goes for the steer that rounds out the class. One that I think the longer he's going to be on feed, he'll continue to bulk up and probably get there, but today he's a ways off from 12 o'clock. Nice class to start the steer show. Let's give those exhibitors a big hand.
Results of group number 1 market steers. First place, Abby Volish. Second in that class was Natalie Tronick. Receiving a blue, Autumn Bartlett and Colton Herfel. Entering the ring now will be group number 2 market steers. Following this, we'll need Abby and Natalie from group 1 to return to compete for the overall market steer. Go into the breeding show. Those classes are in alphabetical order through the breeds.
our second class of steers, I think, again, we have a good place to start. And I'll be the first to admit that this calf does not go near comfortably enough off his hind leg as I'd like to see him. But just from a composition standpoint, being right in terms of where he's at, you know, in relation to his ideal endpoint from just a market basic standpoint, I think he wins this class really easily. And when she gets him stopped and parked, he pulls together really well. Like I said, he needs to go more comfortably off that hind leg, and I really wish he did. Outside of that, I think there's a lot of good in that calf, and he certainly covers the basics from a good kind of fat steer standpoint. Young man steer we have coming out in second is one that's definitely a little more moderate in his kind, and I think gives up probably 150 pounds of that steer, I believe it was. But there is a ton of meat animal shape working on this calf. He's so shapely and dimensional down his top and from directly behind. You like that about him. And I think that kind of leads to him being just a little bit rounder and more coarse in his build. He needs to be flatter in the way his shoulders laid into him. He needs to be square out of his hip and more comfortable on his rear pastern. Hereford Steer coming out next. This is just a good, practical, efficient kind of fat steer that I'd be happy to have a pen full if I was feeding cattle. He's really good in terms of his composition when you get your hands on him. Compared to the two that stand ahead of him, he just gives up so much in terms of muscle shape. He's not nearly as fresh or square in the shape he's got up high, and he's certainly not as dimensional or impressive from behind, but that's just a good, practical, feed-efficient fat steer for that young lady. Cattle coming out next is one that is really long-spined. He's pretty neat about his front end. He, too, is pretty shapely in the way his muscles laid onto him. One that, for me, is just pretty hard yet to the touch. He's a little harsher, pretty bare over his 12th and 13th. I think if you get that calf, you know, keep pushing him and bringing him along, get some more cover on him, he's going to do a world of good for her. And then the calf that rounds out the class, again, one that when you get your hands up on him up high, he's pretty square, but he too is just too bare. Like I was saying, the steer there that rounds out the class just needs some more time on feed to get a little extra condition on where he's at from a weight perspective. I'd like to probably loosen him up off both ends of the skeleton as well. Let's give all those steer exhibitors a big hand.
Top purple in group number 2, Tatum Schroeder. Second place went to Trayson Forel. Receiving blues, Brianna Spoker, Addison Koenig, and Logan Koenig. Entering the ring now is going to be the top 2 from both group number 1 and group number 2 for your champion overall market steer. We'll then go into the breeding beef show. That'll go fairly quickly between the breeds. We need Angus, Charolais, and Commercial to start making their way to the ring.
let's go ahead and give your steer exhibitors out here a big round of applause. We get our class winners and seconds back in the ring. They're all good kinds of cattle. There's certainly quite a bit of variation in type and kind and, final endpoint frame size and weight for that matter, where these cattle are at. And I think there's some challenge amongst your two class winners. We have a steer that wins the first class that's given up 170 pounds, I believe-ish, to the one that wins the second, but he's so much better built in the way he handles his hip and hind leg. He's more correct in his shoulder, so much more comfortable in motion. Then you have the steer that wins the second class that has that weight advantage and is just kind of a brute everywhere you study him. You like him standing still and you watch him in motion and you just wish he got out and went way more comfortably and more correctly off of both ends of the skeleton. That's where you got to kind of pick your poison between those two for champion. And I think we do have two really nice second place steers out here. I think you could go a few different ways in how you run these for your champion and reserve and where you want to lay your preference. I'm going to go out and take one more look. I'll get you a champion and a reserve. But again, please give these 4 young people out here one more big round of applause.
Congratulations to Abby Vallis showing your champion market steer. That award is sponsored by Orscheln Farm and Home. Reserve Champion Award sponsored by Beatrice Concrete Company went to Tatum Schroeder. Okay, we're gonna Beatrice Daily Sun and maybe some other media would like to have pictures of the champion reserves. If you can head over to the photo board at this time, that would be great if it works into your schedule. We'll now move into the breeding beef show. Once again, they're going to be in alphabetical order by breed, starting off with Angus. Charolais should be up here at the ring. And then commercial, followed by Foundation Simmental.
get out here with our lone Angus heifer to start the breeding show, and I think certainly a nice kind of brood cow prospect for this young lady, one that's good in her body type. She sounds structured. I like the way her neck comes out of the top side of her shoulder. Definitely one that could have taken some extra heat in this particular breed. We'll get her back out here at the end of the show for our top and see how she stacks up with the other breeds. Let's give this young lady a big round of applause.
Champion Angus breeding heifer to Sarah Beeler of Sterling. That award sponsored by Kamek Farms. Brian and Sherry Hamill and family also sponsoring Angus breeding heifer award. In the ring now is our Charolais breeding heifer, followed by Commercial and then Foundation Simmental. If you are in your top two of your breeds, towards the or at the end of the breeding show, bring your animals back up for the overall breeding animal.
Test.
Again, we get back out here with just our lone Charolais heifer, and certainly a really nice individual this young man's brought. One that is really representative of the breed and what they're known for. That is a true powerhouse of a brood cow that he's going to have. She's massive in terms of her rib cage and the way it's laid into her. Still plenty sound structured, and certainly, you know, I think the senior yearling heifer that he said she's starting to get close to where she's going to be calving here before too terribly long, and she's held her condition well. Nice entry here for this young man. Let's give him a big round of applause.
Champion Charolais was shown by Zach Schnelly of Janssen. That champion award sponsored by Brian and Sherry Hamill and family. Reserve champion Charolais breeding heifer is normally sponsored by Roar's Machinery Incorporated, Mark Bathel and Dean Roar. This will be our first class of commercial. These are spring yearlings from March 1st of 2019 to April 30th of 2019. Be a junior yearling class following this, as well as a senior yearling for commercial, before selecting the overall commercial.
Test. 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 Test.
Here in our first class in the commercial heifer division, I think we have a heifer that just wins the class awfully easily. That heifer on the end there farthest from me is just kind of dominant everywhere you study her in relation to the rest of the group. She's the boldest and most robust about her rib cage. She's probably the best looking, the best balanced, the most kind of right on in terms of bloom and her condition and where she's at this stage of the game. I think a really nice heifer to start. The kind of Hereford marked heifer coming out next is really long, really extended, kind of got some extra growth built into her. She just gives up too much in terms of natural dimension of body or muscle. Heifer coming out next, kind of same goes for her. Good cow prospect, but not near the same kind of bloom or condition or where she's at today. And then we get into a pair of heifers that round out the class that certainly just need to have some more time on feed, get some extra flesh on them, get some extra muscle built into them, and they'll be able to rise up a little bit better. Let's give those exhibitors a big round of applause.
Results out of class number 1, Seth Dean of Douglas. Second place, Peyton Humphreys of Wymore. Third, Ashton Humphreys of Wymore. Fourth, Monroe Thompson. And fifth, Easton Thompson, both of Odell. Seth and Peyton will come back to compete for the overall commercial in 2 classes. Entering in the ring here is going to be junior yearlings, January 1st, 2019 to February 29th, 2019.
last two of our commercials. I think, again, we've got a top pair that are very contrasting in their kind and where they have their advantage. Heifer that I'm going to start, to me, is just the soundest one out here. She's the best in terms of the angle of her shoulder and the way her knee sets into her. She utilizes her hip and hind leg the most comfortably. She's certainly not the most attractive through her front end, but it looks like there's probably some breed character in there that would aid to that. She's got enough body. I think she's really fresh in her condition. I think just structurally, that's the one I'm most comfortable with. The heifer we've got in second is, without a doubt, the stoutest. She's certainly got the most turn at the top side of her rib, right out of her spine. I think the extra power kind of hinders her. She really struggles and gets a little bit choppy and short-strided off her hind leg. I like to see her go more comfortably with a little extra flex and give off her hind leg. Then the heifer that rounds out the class. Really high-performing, high-growth kind of female that's really long-sided. She's got plenty of flexibility off of both ends. She just needs to be bolder ribbed. She could use a shot more power from behind as well to rival the two ahead of her. But a nice trio there. Let's give those young people a big hand.
Top purple in the junior yearling class went to Ashton Humphreys of Wymore. Second purple, Evan Quackenbush. Third place in the class, receiving the blue, is Braden Humphreys. Ashton and Evan will come back following this next class for the overall commercial. Here's a single entry for senior yearling from September 1st of 2018 to December 31st of 2018. Following this is a selection of the overall commercial. We'll go into Foundation Simmental. There's 3 single entry classes for that breed: Galve, Hereford, Maine, and Maintainer.
Nice single entry senior yearling here to round out our commercial show. One that as a senior yearling is going to be getting ready to calve here in probably a month and a half or so, it sounded like. Just a good kind of cow prospect. She's sound, got plenty of give and flex in her in terms of her lower skeleton. She reads right in her angles. If I would modify her a little bit, I'd probably see her tie her neck higher on the top side of her shoulder. Maybe just redesign her teat structure a little bit. But a nice single entry here for this young man. Let's give him a big hand.
Top award winner in that class for senior yearlings is Jacob Wallenberg. Re-entering the ring will be from the spring yearlings of Seth Dean and Peyton Humphreys. Junior yearlings, the top 2 there will be Ashton Humphreys and Evan Quackenbush, all competing for the champion commercial breeding heifer. Foundation Simmental, Galve, Hereford,